Some car crash games hit us like a wrecking ball, but then the devs just vanished. Some became inactive, some lost community support, and some were simply abandoned with no updates for months. While a few still get updates, nothing exciting ever comes. Today, we're diving into 5 such car crash projects that had huge potential but are now stuck in limbo. So buckle up, this is going to be one wild ride. Number 5. W Damage Car Crash. With over 5 million downloads and a 4.0 rating on Play Store, W Damage looked like it could be a serious crash simulator. More than 61,000 players have reviewed it, and when I checked its release date, I was shocked. It came out in 2014. For a game this old, the damage physics still look decent, but let's be real, it should have evolved by now. Games like Flexikex have proven that realistic damage physics are possible on mobile, yet W Damage hasn't taken that leap. On the bright side, it has 60+ cars, 25+ maps, and great graphics, but the biggest letdown? The damage system has barely improved over time. The devs announced a sequel 3 months ago, but there's been no news since. Hopefully, they're working on something big, or else it might just end up another forgotten project. If we get any updates, we'll cover them. But for now, let's move on to number 4. Beam Drive Crash's Original 3D. This game is practically a clone of BeamNG. From the interface to the maps, everything looks similar. It was made by Crash Time, the same developers behind Real Car Crash. But here's the problem, it never really took off. I'd call it underrated because despite its decent graphics and fairly good crash physics, it didn't gain much popularity. The last major update was in November 2024, and it was just a simple bug fix. No improvements to damage physics, no new content, just a game stuck in time. Now, I'm not saying its crash physics are next level. It has flaws, but with the right updates, it could have been a great crash simulator. Maybe one day, the devs will realize its potential and give it a proper upgrade. Number 3. Simple Car Crash. You've probably heard of this one or even played it. Visually, it's great. The graphics are solid, the controls feel smooth, but there's one huge issue: crash physics. They just don't feel real. Now, what's interesting is that this game supports mods, and because of that, its modding community has grown a lot. But despite this, the developers never really improved the damage physics. They did release a follow-up game called Not Simple Car Crash, and while it has slightly better damage mechanics, it's still not at the level it could be. And the devs? They don't seem too serious about fixing it. Hopefully, they prove us wrong. Number 2. Beam Cop. This one had a lot of promise. Some of you might even remember when the developers announced on their Telegram channel that they had purchased Car Drive and were planning to make a next-level crash simulator. But then they disappeared. One thing that stood out in Beam Cop was its damage physics. They were impressive for mobile. But the problem? It only had 2-3 small maps and about 3-4 cars. Not much content to keep players engaged. Even though it had huge potential, without updates, it never stood a chance against games like Flexikex. And finally, the game with the most potential but the biggest letdown, Car Drive. The developers had promised a version 0.42 update, but after January 2024, they just went silent. If you've played this game, you probably know more about its current state than I do. By the way, we've done several gameplay videos on it. Check out the playlist link in the description. For a mobile game, its crash physics are next level, but at the same time, it's filled with bugs, crashes often, and requires a high-end device to run properly. Even then, it's not stable. If you think about it, Car Drive was like the BeamNG drive of mobile gaming, tons of potential, but ultimately abandoned. The game had it all: great crash physics, good graphics and smooth controls, mod support, and an active community, a map creator, slow motion crashes just like BeamNG. But all of that means nothing if the devs don't come back. Imagine if someone could acquire this game and turn it into the ultimate mobile crash simulator. So, those were 5 crash simulators that had a shot at greatness but never quite made it. If you haven't seen our Beam Drive versus Flexikex comparison yet, tap the video on your screen now. I'll see you in the next one.